So I grew up on Coney Island Avenue, which is a busy. It's not the beach, Coney Island. That's 2 miles down the Coney Island Avenue, and we were in a little apartment, probably as big as this studio. I'm sure I'm remembering it as being much bigger, but I think in reality it was probably as big as this. And we had in the kitchen, it looked out into another apartment, which was identical to ours. And from my kitchen window, I could see Mrs. Schneider making some rucola, a kind of Eastern European pastry. It's just delicious. And as she was doing this on a spring day and rolling the thing and putting the cinnamon and the raisins and the nuts and everything out and then putting it in her Wedgwood oven, I just became mesmerized watching her do this. And she's wearing a short sleeve 1950s dress, and she was in and out of the Wedgwood oven. And she never said a word to me until the very end, at which point she looked up. She saw me kind of peeking over my windowsill, and she said, "You'll come, I'll give you to eat." And so I scampered across. It was kind of an air vent area where you could go across, or you go up really to the roof, which was what it was for. And she placed a napkin on my hands and proceeded to put these rucola into the napkin, these warm, luscious, aromatic pastries. And as she did so, I saw on her arm a series of blue tattooed numbers. At that point, I was about 5 years old. I had never seen that before, but then saw it subsequently, because once I saw it, I became much more aware. And this is the 1950s Brooklyn, so a lot of the refugees had come, and many of my friends' parents had survived the Holocaust. And when I got back into my kitchen and hid my treasures from my siblings, my mom came in, and I said, "Mrs. Schneider had given me these." And I said, "But why does Mrs. Schneider," and I don't really remember this, but my impression of the memory is that I whispered it for some reason. "Why does Mrs. Schneider have tattooed numbers on her arm?" And my mother proceeded to explain by use of an analogy. And she said, when you watch the cowboy movies and they capture a calf, what do they do with it? I said, "Well, they tie it up and then they brand it." And she said, "Why do they brand the calf?" And I said, "So that all the other cowboys know who owns that calf." And my mother said, "That's what some people did to Mr. and Mrs. Schneider." And right there, it just set the whole... I don't know how different a person I would be if that didn't happen. If that... It put glasses on me in a way that I saw everything else from that point on about human dignity, human freedom, the fact that nobody has the right to own another person like they own an animal. And the interesting thing about it is my mother didn't explain this to me philosophically or theologically or anthropologically. She just told me this story. What that tells me now, having read all of these disciplines, is that encoded in the human reality, I would say the natural law, is a moral sensibility, that the is of our existence implies the ought of our existence. Yeah. And that's just changed the way I looked. Now, for a number of years, that moral imperative, that belief in justice and human dignity, manifested itself in my commitment to political movements that I see from my perspective now as antithetical. But I know, and this is why I kind of have sympathy for a number of these young people who are protesting various things. I know, I want to believe in the sincerity of many of them, maybe even the majority of them, but how unfocused they are on the true meaning of the whole thing, or at least how to build the institutions that guarantee the rights of human beings.